This is a free download of the FM104 Phone Show, Ireland's #1 late-night radio show with Adrian Kennedy.
The Metropolitan Police in London has said that it is banning the recruit of people with thuggish visible tattoos in order and orders existing officers to submit for inspection. Police recruits to Britain's largest police force were banned yesterday from having visible tattoos in a sweeping reform of its public image. It has been said by the Scotland Yard Commissioner that it damages the professional image of the service. Now, here's the question for you. Are there certain jobs, like, for example, the Gardaí, that you shouldn't be able to display your tattoos in public? Should you have to cover up your tattoos if you're a policeman? And if so, why? And are there other jobs that you should be forced to cover up your tattoo? Or maybe you're somebody who believes that a tattoo is just a bit of body art, and so what? So what? It doesn't matter what sort of a job you have. 6797104 is our telephone number. Rose, you're on FM104. How are you, Rose?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now, you believe that they are right to ask staff to cover up?
I am, yes. I mean, I have tattoos and I worked with the public in a hotel and I was made to cover mine up.
You were made to cover yours up. So where are yours?
One was in my ankle, which was the only visible one. The other one was in my back, which was covered anyway.
Okay, and why were you... does they look, like, distasteful?
No, it was just a small tattoo on my ankle, but because I worked with public, you know, it was a well-known hotel, I had to cover it up.
And do you think that's fair?
Honestly, it wasn't fair, no, but... if we have to do it, I think the guards, you know, the police should do it.
Now, obviously, when you got your tattoo in the first place, you obviously thought it looked nice, did you?
I did, yeah.
You thought it was a nice... Well, what sort of an image were you thinking it would give off?
It's body art, but at the same time, you know, it wasn't... I mean, it's on my left side, so, I mean, it wasn't actually... You'd have to really, really look to see it, do you know what I mean? So...
Okay, do you think you obviously think it's unfair that you've been asked to cover up your tattoos in the hotel that you work in?
Yeah, it was at the time, yeah.
Now, you see, the one thing that I wonder is, why would anybody get a tattoo if it's going to restrict the sort of jobs that they can get? I just don't get that.
Well, at the time, I didn't know it would be, you know, I would have to cover it up. Do you know what I mean? So...
And do you regret getting it done?
No, I don't. I absolutely don't regret it at all, no.
And you still think it looks nice?
Yeah. It's not the it's not...
You see, yeah, but what I don't get is, you're saying that if you have to cover it up in a hotel, well, so should a member of An Garda Síochána or whatever. Why, if it's just body art? I mean, is the Metropolitan Police Commissioner in London right in saying that it just gives off a thuggish image?
No, that's wrong. Do you know what I mean? But there's certain tattoos that don't look nice, sorry. You know what I mean?
But if it's body art, it's body art.
Yeah, I know. But
like, what's the body art you have in, where'd you say, your ankle?
It's my ankle on my left leg. It's a dragonfly.
A dragonfly?
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't sound overly distasteful.
It's not, you know, but that was the policy in the hotel.
And did they explain why?
God, no. I think it was just part and parcel of the policy. It wasn't, any tattoos were not to be visible at all.
Well, let me ask you, let me read a text to you. It's just come in and it says, okay. Public servants should not have tattoos or piercing. It's not a good image to the public. We have enough scumbags already. In other words, that is the sort of impression that tattoos can give off.
Well, some people think that, you know, but I don't know.
Okay, but you feel You feel kind of unfairly treated by being asked to cover up your tattoo, do you?
Yeah, and I'm sure there was others as well, you know. I mean, if you're going to be showing a whole lot of tattoos, then fair enough. But if it's only one and it's small enough, then, you know, it shouldn't be a problem, but it was, you know.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear from you. 6797104 is our telephone number. Let me go to James. You're on FM104. How are you, James?
Hey, Adrian.
James, you believe that tattoos give off the image of somebody who's just an out-and-out thug?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't mind. I have tattoos myself.
And are you an out-and-out thug?
No, but that's just the image it portrays. Like, if I go to an interview for a bank clerk job or something like that, and I'm in the interview and then I don't get the job. Now, you have to look at why I didn't get the job. If your CV says you've everything matches up, but then you look at your arm and you say you have a dirty, thuggish tattoo, and behind your ear you might have, your name might be Stephen, and you have a big S in old Roman numerals. Like, that's, if a customer comes into you and you're on the desk and she's trying to open up a bank account and she's looking at you full of tattoos, she's going to say, this fella's going to rob me actually at some stage.
Much knowledge you have your own tattoos, you do accept that they can give off a kind of a thuggish image.
Yeah, everything is image these days, Adrian. Now, when I was studying to be an interior designer, I hadn't got any tattoos, but when I went to that interview with the instructor, he outright asked me, had I any tattoos? Mm-hmm. I said, I had none at the time. I said, no, I don't. And I was kind of thinking, I said, but I asked him later on when I got into the course, and I said, why'd you ask me? I had no tattoos, like? Oh, because it's an image thing. If you're going up to a client's house and you have these 3 mood boards and you have a big sleeve or a tattoo of anything, and you're telling them, they're looking at you, it's all about image. You won't get the job. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you were in a bank, I'm sure they ask you these questions as well. Have you any tattoos? Because sometimes they wear short sleeves. So if you have a big dirty tattoo, it could be of a Celtic cross or a snake or a sleeve or anything. It just sends the wrong image out there. Simple as that, like, you know, and that's just a fact.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. John, you're on FM104. How are you, John?
How are you, Adrian? Good evening to you.
John, it just sends off a bad image.
No, to be honest, Adrian, I'm a qualified butcher. I've a tattoo up the back of my wrist there of my surname McLean, and I've never had a complaint to any of my customers whatsoever of the tattoo. Now, I have had recent complaints. Anytime I went to a nightclub and I was wearing a white shirt, I have a portrait of my son on my chest, and automatically refused from the door because of this tattoo. You know, it's wrong. I don't believe in that. No, it's you know,
okay, so why do you think the bouncer is turning you away? Honestly, now.
Well, it was because of the look of the tattoo, but I mean, it's a portrait of my son, so like at the end of the day, it's, you know, nightclubs are dressing. You know, it's not about a tattoo. Like, if I wear a white shirt, I'm refused. I wear a black shirt, I'm not refused. You know, I just think it's completely ridiculous.
Okay, so in other words, if they're visible, I mean, I do wonder sometimes, as somebody said on Twitter a second ago, why is it that tattoos still have such a negative stigma? It's not just thugs that wear them anymore, and that's true, I agree. It isn't. I mean, back in the day, it was only thugs that wore tattoos, but nowadays it's not.
It's not. They're getting younger and younger, Adrian. They're getting younger and younger getting tattoos. Right, fair enough if they're going to be these big mad tattoos and they're all over your hands and they're all over your, you know, they've all these dots on their knuckles and everything. Fair enough, right, fair so, yeah. But when you've a portrait of your son on your chest and you're going to a nightclub to have a good night out after a hard week's work, and you're refused from a door because you have a portrait of your son on your chest because you're wearing a white shirt and this is visible. Mm-hmm. I completely disagree with you.
Adrian.
Yes, go on, James, yeah.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say, mate, is that's the stigma with getting tattoos. You had that tattoo of your son means something to you, but when you go up to a stranger who his duty is as a bouncer is to let certain types of people in, he looks at you coming up with a big dirty tattoo, even though he can't even...
hang on, no. Yeah, I agree with that, but when it comes up to a big dirty tattoo, that's a portrait of my son on my chest. I'm not following up to that door drunk. I'm not following up to that door out of my binge on drugs. I'm coming up to up to a nightclub to have a good night out after a hard week's work, and you're refused from door for a tattoo.
You see, but here's the thing, John. I have stood at nightclub doors over the years with bouncers, yeah, and I've seen them turn away guys like probably yourself And you're kind of half thinking, why do they do that? Why do they turn them away? And then you realise that if the club was full of people with tattoos, it would give off the wrong image of the club.
But Adrian, I've been in that club and I've seen people with tattoos plastered. Like, I mean, I've 3 tattoos, yeah? I've one on the back of my wrist with my surname, and I've a portrait of my son, and I've my partner's name on the top of my arm, which is actually covered. So I'm not showing off with a lot of tattoos. But when I go into the club and there's people there and they've piercings and they've tattoos shown and some of them on their faces, like, why aren't these people, told to leave? You know, like when you come up to the club, you're not even drunk. Your first drink is when you get through the door. And this one tattoo, and then you're just told, I'm sorry, not tonight, lads. Why not? Because the tattoo is visible.
The bouncer's judgment, when he makes a first impression, look at you, and he sees you with a lovely white shirt on you, but he sees underneath it, you could have either a picture of your son or a swastika. Now, either way, it's a tattoo, and he just says, that guy might be trouble, don't let him in, no matter what. Now, you might only drink tea, you might even drink alcohol. So that's that bouncer's judgment. I've had the same thing. I didn't have any tattoos, but when I've had, say, earrings in my ear, and he say, not tonight. I might have a skinhead, and he say, no, not tonight. Everything is image. Do you think a fella in a bank would be in an interview, and if he had a skinhead, that's the same thing. He wouldn't be given the job. The next fella who with hair would be given the job. It's all about image.
It's judgmental. It's judgmental. It's too judgmental. It's far too judgmental.
That's PC. Now,
yeah, but unfortunately, John, that is the way an awful lot of people are. And if certain people were to walk into a nightclub and loads of people were covered in tattoos, they would go, Jesus, this isn't the place I want to be. Whether that's right or wrong, John, that's the way a lot of people view it.
But when you get in there, Adrian, one night and you're saying, hang on, I wore a white shirt last weekend, I'm wearing a black shirt this weekend, I'm allowed in. You get in, you see these people and they're covered in tattoos and saying, Jesus, hang on, there's something wrong down. You're saying, like, there's tattoos in their face, there's tattoos in their knuckles. That has to say something.
Okay, stay there for 1 second. 6797104 is our telephone number. Jenny, you're on FM 104. How are you, Jenny?
Hiya, how's it going?
Now, Jenny, you yourself are heavily tattooed.
I am, yeah. I've worked with the public all my life. Now, obviously, I didn't start off really heavily tattooed. They just kind of kept getting added. I've never had a problem getting a job. I've worked in retail up to management level. I'm self-employed now. And my tattoos...
And do you have to cover them up?
No, not really. It's like my tattoos would be visible,
Well, okay, give me an idea. If I'm standing in front of you now, what will I see?
Well, you'll see I have kind of flip-flops on. My feet are tattooed, and you can see the start of the ones that are on my arms at my wrists, like. Mm-hmm. I have tattoos kind of that go up the inside of my arms, and I've loads of tattoos. I have a tattoo that goes right across my chest. So I think that kind of idea, I understand what people are saying, and it's a stigma, and that, you're going to be judged. I've never been judged. I don't go to nightclubs where, I wouldn't be kind of the norm there. I don't drink in kind of places like that. So I suppose where I've gone, I've always been accepted.
Okay, but can you understand why, there was a photograph in the paper today of, in fact, it's up on our Facebook page now, on the FM104 Facebook page, of a policeman in the UK with a full sleeve tattoo. Now, the question we're asking is that the right image that you want to give off of your police service?
I think as long as somebody is capable and is doing their job properly, I don't think it really should come into it. I think that the stigma about it's, thuggish and criminality is from like years and years and years ago, where it was, started off at sailors and prisons and stuff like that. It's not like, it's kind of the norm now. It's, for people to have tattoos. Obviously, being a girl and being heavily tattooed isn't quite, so kind of seen. But I don't know. I think it's as long as somebody is doing their job. I've never, been held back from it ever. It's never come into it. I wouldn't necessarily, go into work, if I was working for, an employer in a shop or whatever, and go in a vest and stuff like that. But that's my own personal choice for how I dress anyway. Because people, unfortunately, do look at you, and look down their nose at you. I don't really care what people think, but at the same time, I'm not going to put myself... But
can you understand how it does to some people give off a negative image? If you see a guard and he's covered from head to toe in tattoos, is it not going to give off a thuggish image?
I mean, if somebody is a scumbag and has, whatever tattoos on their necks or wherever, and but not just because they have a tattoo on their neck that they're a scumbag. If somebody is a scumbag, they're a scumbag, irrespective of how many tattoos they have. As long as a guard is doing his job properly, I wouldn't care what he looked like. Do you know what I mean? It's an outdated point of view, and I think people who are letting themselves be judged and stigmatised, that's their own problem, and it's a pity if they feel they can't be themselves and get whatever tattoos they want.
Do you ever regret getting your tattoos, no?
No, they've just kept getting added to over the years. I've never regretted them at all. I've changed and I've added on to older ones. Like, say, I would have got my first tattoo when I was 17, and that's been kind of redone, but that's the only one I've gotten redone. The other ones have all just been incorporated into bigger pieces, because when I started getting them, I would get, I got my first 3 and they were quite small, and the tattoos that I would get now would be much larger pieces. Okay,
stay there for 1 second. Flannan, you're on FM104. How are you?
How's it going, Adrian? I have one word for people who have tattoos.
Say that again?
I have one word for people who have tattoos. Weirdo.
Weirdo?
Hippies and drug dealers. That's all they are.
Well, now, in fairness to Jenny here, she doesn't sound like a hippie or a drug dealer.
I am a bit of a hippie now.
Oh, you are a bit of a hippie.
But you know what? There's nothing wrong with being hippie. There's nothing wrong with people being who they are. And it's people like that who judge and, you're this and you're that.
I just can't trust them. They're thugs.
Sad lives and small-minded. What I choose to do or put onto my body is nothing to do with anyone else.
It gives off a terrible image. Why would you ruin your body like that?
But to be honest with you, I'm glad you're on, because it's people like you that have that attitude. You're the type of person, no disrespect, I'm sure you're a very nice man, but your opinion doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care what you think of me, because you're small-minded.
Okay, but if, and you're saying it hasn't, Jenny, but for some people, they need to consider from this moment on that if you get a tattoo, there is a very strong possibility, for example, you may never get a job in An Garda Síochána because they may follow that policy.
Yeah,
you think that's proper order, Flannan, do you?
Definitely, these people are representing our country, especially top jobs like the Garda. We can't have them having tattoos and whatnot.
What, the Garda representing our country when they're beating people up on Dame Street at protests?
That's completely different topic, Jennifer. Completely different topic.
Yeah.
So you do believe that it gives off the wrong image, gives off the wrong impression?
It's this thuggy image, I just couldn't trust anyone with a tattoo,
Okay, so, I mean, a lot of people have...
Are they lacking in self-confidence or something?
Is that what it is, Jenny? Are you lacking in self-confidence? Is that why you had to get it done?
No, I'm sincerely not lacking in any confidence at all.
I mean, in fairness, she doesn't sound like she is.
I'm sane-minded, I have my own business, and I'm extremely happy in my life, and I'm glad that I don't have to, pay any heed to people like that guy who have some sort of backward opinion, of people. Well,
Flannan, sorry, John, are you still there?
Adrian, I am, yeah.
Is that a backward opinion this fella has?
He's completely wrong. So I'm a dirty scumbag because I have a portrait of my son on my chest.
Well, Flannan?
Maybe not quite, but I just don't understand why you do it.
Well, because it's I brought the child into the world just as much as my partner did. So, at the end of the day,
you have to carry a picture in your wallet or something.
But I want him. I want the portrait of him on my body. Yeah, something I can carry around me. Right? Fair enough. Yeah, you'll lose photos, but it'll never be lost. It's imprinted on my body.
But is it? You see, for example. I mean, I've seen people with their own name tattooed on their arm. Why? Honestly, why would you do that? Are you likely to forget your own name?
Most tattoos are absolutely pointless.
No, I would look at certain tattoos and think I don't like them, or I think they look scumbaggy. Some tattoos are when they're not well done, and they do, and it also depends on who's wearing them as well. A
lot of people just do it just so they look cool and
Yeah, I think when tattoos are done well in proper places, and it's good artists, they are works of art, and it's completely personal to that person who is getting the tattoo. I mean, I have tattoos, that really remind me of times in my life, very, special times, and I can't understand why other people who don't have tattoos seem to have an opinion on those who do. Like, if you don't like them, don't get them, but don't judge people.
But you see, but Jenny, here's the thing: whether you like it or not, people do judge you for your tattoos. And honestly, if you're not likely to walk into a bank or walk onto an airline and see an air hostess or a bank clerk covered in tattoos, because it's not the image the bank or the airline wants to portray.
Well, that's fair. You know, I mean, I've worked in shops in Grafton Street. You know, I've worked in shops in Henry Street. I've had, you know, really public-facing roles, and it's never been a problem.
Okay, but it also depends on the sort of job you're working in. If you're working in a funky clothes shop, obviously it's not going to matter a toss.
Adrian, can I just...
Yeah, go on, John, yeah.
Can I just say, I'm working in a butcher shop, right? I'm a butcher, right? I've never had a complaint from not one of my customers about the tattoo on the back of my wrist of my surname, and which is more than nearly 90% visible of my son's portrait. I've never had one complaint.
Can I ask you why you have a tattoo of your surname? Were you ever likely to forget it?
No, it was just when I was younger, we had it done, and I like it. I'm proud of my surname, right? So that was it.
Sure, I'm proud of my surname as well, but...
Yeah, right, well, I was young then, but when I went on and
You say that as if you were a bit stupid to get that done.
Well, back then I was younger, but when I sent to the terms to get my son's portrait done, it wasn't. But it's a second tattoo, and it's also visible to the customers, and I've never had one complaint. And for that man to get on the radio and tell anyone that has a tattoo is a scumbag, he's out complete and utter rockers. That man needs to go and get a tattoo and feel like what it actually feels to have it done.
Well, Jenny, I want to read a text to you here, and it says, Jenny sounds like a lovely young woman. Why would she destroy her body in that way?
But it's not destroying your body. It's my opinion of what looks nice. And
okay, the tattoos that you have now, will they look as nice when you're 60 and a grandmother?
Yeah, I'm sure they will, because I look after them. And I mean, when I'm 60 or 70 or 80, most people who I know all are, you know, tattoos. It's not going to be out of the norm. And to be honest with you, I'd rather be 80 in a nursing home and haven't had the time of my life when I was young and lived my life and not being afraid to express who I was. You know, it's not...
There's absolutely nothing to do with being afraid.
Huh?
It hasn't got anything to do with being afraid to express yourself. People just don't feel they have to express themselves.
And that's your right and your choice to do that. I like tattoos. I've always loved tattoos. I'm interested in the whole industry of tattooing. You know, and that's my choice as to what I choose to get tattooed on me. You know, it's nothing to do with anyone else.
All right, stay there for 1 second. Kevin, you're on FM104. How are you, Kevin?
How are you doing, Adrian? You all right?
Kevin, can I ask you a question? Do you think the Metropolitan Police in London are right in deciding that they are not going to allow anybody who's heavily tattooed into their force anymore?
I personally don't, no, because you're then restricting somebody from having a life outside of the job. So you're...
Well, I mean, they're warning you that if you're a young 15-year-old and you'd like to be a policeman when you grow up, don't go get a tattoo because it's not going to work for you.
Well, that's them putting somebody in a box that they're not allowed to express themselves as a person just because they want to join the police service. That's then putting them in a different category and not giving them the right as a human being to do what they feel seems responsible to themselves.
Okay, but let's imagine you walked into a court.
Okay.
And the judge sitting up at the top of the courtroom was covered in tattoos. You'd kind of think, Jesus, what's the story with that judge? You would.
Well, it would shock you, yes, but again, that judge is a person who has the right to do what he wants to do.
I know. I know all that, but it does. I don't care what anybody says. It does portray a certain something. I can't put my finger on what it is, but it does portray a certain something to the point that you're not going to see a judge in the High Court covered in tattoos because he doesn't want to present, well, maybe because he just doesn't like them, but he doesn't want to present that negative stereotype. And there is a negative stereotype, Kevin, whether you like it or not.
No, there is a negative stereotype, but I mean, who puts the negative stereotype on it? The people who actually don't like tattoos.
Is that your issue, Flannan, that you just don't like tattoos?
I wouldn't say that. I just think it gives off a tuggy. I think they just look like tugs, absolute knackers.
But why? What's the reason for making people look like knackers? You have to have a reasoning behind that. Okay, if somebody is covered in tattoos, that's well within that person's right to be covered within tattoos.
Of course, it's. But hang on, there's nobody saying it's not your right to do it. Obviously, it's your right to do it. But would you want to do something that's going to portray a negative image of yourself?
Well, I mean, you're only portraying a negative image of yourself if another person is looking at you in that way.
But the reality of it is, and we've already heard from a fella who regularly gets turned away from nightclub doors because he has tattoos. I know loads of bouncers that if you turn up at their door covered in, big long sleeve tattoos, they just won't let you in. They just won't let you in. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm saying that that's a fact.
No, it is a fact, and again, it's up to the person who's obviously getting the tattoos to portray themselves in whatever way they want. But I mean, if somebody has a problem with what they're wearing as a tattoo, then I mean, that's their problem, you know?
Okay, going back to the police force, now we've just confirmed, by the way, that Gardaí here aren't allowed to have tattoos on visible display, okay? I don't know if that's official policy or something that they're just told to do. But do you think that's right?
Yeah, it's dead right.
Yeah, Flannan, you obviously think it's right.
Yeah, dead right.
Do you think it's right, Kevin? Can you understand?
I can understand, yeah, but I don't think it's right that you as a company or as a law should say to people that you can and can't have something done.
Now, Flannan, let me look at the other side of this coin, yeah? Let me look at the other side of this coin. And I just got a text in and it says, Adrian, I'm 16 and I would be much more likely to talk to a tattooed Garda who I can probably associate with more. In other words, they wouldn't see the Garda as being, somebody way out there, somebody on their level. No? You still think it looks horrible? You there? I don't know what's happened to him. Peter, you're on FM104. How are you, Peter?
Grand, how are you getting on?
Very well, thanks, Peter. Now, what did you want to say on this?
Yeah, no, I'd say, I have tattoos myself, right? Now, if they come across as a thuggish image, if you have guards or policemen with tattoos, they're going to get more respect off the younger people.
Well, in fact, I just got a text, as you heard me reading, from a 16-year-old who's kind of saying pretty much that he would have a bit more respect for... or would be able to relate more to a Garda who had some tattoos.
Yeah, he'd be looking at him that he's an ordinary bloke sort of, all right, he's a guard and he's upholding the law and that, but he'd have more respect for them.
You'd have more respect for them?
I reckon he'd have more respect.
Well, the young people would.
Yeah.
You see, what the head of the Metropolitan Police in England has said is that body art damages the police professional image. But on the other side of that coin, police officers are saying that they should reflect the public that they serve. In other words, some people in general society have tattoos, others don't. You obviously think it's okay for a policeman to have tattoos.
Ah, yeah. I think it'd be 100%. As I said, you get more respect off the younger people. Because it's like teenager takes in there a few minutes ago, they'd be able to relate to a guy that had a tattoo. Because he'd be classed as an ordinary sort of a bloke. All right, he's a guard. But he'd be an ordinary person, you know what I mean? They'd talk more to them.
So are there any lines of business that you think you can understand how companies won't... Like, we had a girl on earlier on who worked in a hotel and she was told to cover them up. I had another girl who texted in to say she had nearly got a job with Emirates Airlines and the reason she was turned down was because she had a big tattoo on her arm. They turned her down and said no.
Yeah, I actually know a girl who used to work in a hotel myself and she had tattoos. She was told to wear a long sleeve shirt all the time.
Now,
in the summer.
Okay, but can you understand that? Can you understand why a prestigious airline would say, no, you're well qualified for the job, love, but not with that yoke in your arm?
Yeah, well, I don't know, she's only an air hostess at the end of the day. I don't see what the big issue is if the person has a tattoo. It's a personal thing.
Okay, but if you paid 10 grand for a first class flight to Australia and the air hostess serving you had a big tattoo running up her whole arm, it's not really the image you want, is it?
It wouldn't bother me. I'd actually...
No, maybe it wouldn't bother you, but it might bother somebody... You know, some people who travel on first class think they're up their own arse.
Somebody that had the silver spoon stuck up right up their arse, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah, but the airline has to cater to these people as well.
I know that, but like, you should take a person, if they're qualified for the job, they should get the job, whether they have a tattoo or not. A tattoo is art. It's not like, you know, okay, if they've done it themselves with an Indian ink or something on their hands, I have that myself, I could understand that. That doesn't look a good image.
Okay, but tattoos as well are associated with gang culture, associated with prison culture. You know, that's where they kind of came from. And it's not really the sort of image a posh airline wants to give off, is it?
Well, that's true, yeah.
So can you understand how some companies will turn them down?
Yeah, I can understand that, and the people working in banks and doctors or whatever in that profession, you know.
Let's squeeze in another couple of calls on this. Ryan, you're on FM104. How are you, Ryan?
Hello, Adrian. Good evening, good morning to you.
Ryan, why do you find tattoos off-putting?
I'll tell you why I find them off-putting, because there are only certain types of jobs, such as the guy that was on there a while ago. I think he mentioned he was in a butcher's, yeah?
Yep.
I've met many butchers with tattoos, and in fairness, that's fine. But you see,
why? Because it's suited to that sort of job?
Exactly. Because the thing is, you know, it's the guy himself. He made a sort of a silly statement in a sense. He said that the people have said nothing to him, but deep down, they're going out of the shop, and I wouldn't like. I'm not, the fella's probably a terribly nice guy. Most guys in the butchers are. They're decent guys that work in these shops. But personally myself, I wouldn't feel comfortable going into dealing with butchers with fellas with the types of tattoos on them. It just gives me the wrong impression, the wrong image. And not only that, most people that I've known in the past that had tattoos all over their arms and legs and body and parts, especially, like, you don't want a small tattoo very discreetly put somewhere on the back under their arm, or it's very discreetly hidden. But when you have tattoos that are absolutely, you know, I've seen the American programs, on various stations that you have on the UPC stuff, and it's just the same. There's approximately 2 million prisoners, as I was saying to one of the girls on the radio there. There's 2 million prisoners in America, yeah, and there's approximately 80% of them in the prisons have tattoos. And in
fact, somebody texted in a couple of minutes ago, and I'll just read out his text. Adrian, I lived in the Soviet Union for some time, and tattoos were to be seen on criminals only. In fact, on criminals who'd been in jail only. Even though I know it's not true in the rest of the world, it's kind of hard printed in my brain that whoever has a tattoo has been in conflict with the law at some stage or another. I just can't help it.
Absolutely. Well, this is the point I'm trying to stress here, that, you know, I can understand, again, what you were saying earlier on, and that girl that was on there a few minutes ago, and she has tattoos, and she sounds really, really nice girl. But, and I'm saying, no offence to her in any way, but if I met her in the street, okay, and I genuinely mean this, and if I happened to meet her at a disco or a dance, and next of all I seen a load of tattoos on her, I'd say, yeah, nice girl, shame about the face. Sorry, move on to the next girl. That's the way I operate.
And I'll be honest with you, Ryan, a lot of people feel like that. Nice girl, lovely girl, shame about those tattoos.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would just, and as I say, it would put me off even wanting to go out with her for any long term.
Okay, well, stay there for a second. Johnny, can you understand why some people have that attitude towards tattoos? Lovely girls, shame about the tattoos. Or lovely fella, why did he ruin his arm like that?
Yeah, it's just sort of people being naive, really, to be honest.
Be naive?
Yeah, I just think they're more fashionable now. Like, if you go into a River Island shop, say any River Island, any Top Martin like that, you can actually buy things that you put over your arm that look like sleeves.
I've seen them, yeah.
Yeah, like, so...
Mind you, I think they're ridiculous. If you're going to bother doing it, go and get the bloody thing done.
As well, like, but I just think, since David Beckham got them, you see most footballers that will have them, they've become more fashionable. Most young people growing up now are starting to get them.
Yeah, but that's... Hello?
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I can understand that. If you look at again, and I say again and again, you look at most football teams and most football supporters even, Man United, Arsenal, you name it, any of them top teams division in the Premier League, any of the players, the vast majority, even supporters, I'm not saying they're all thugs, but they have a percentage, and the vast majority would be involved in doing evil in the past and doing horrible things to other people and robbing and I just find it is an element that is involved in robbery and doing things to badness to people.
Okay, and that is like that fellow who lived in the Soviet Union. That's the impression that you have in your head. Simple as.
As I say, that the prisons are full of them, and it stands to reason. If you look at most prisoners, especially in the American prisons, they're some of them are involved with certain different types of groups, and they have these tattoos all over their backs. They belong to this particular gang or that particular gang, the mafia gang, this gang, that gang, and it starts up this sort of a riot situation between them all when they meet each other in prison, and that goes on, and that has been going on for donkey's years. So I think, in a sense, it's good to see that the guards don't allow it, and it's good to see that the police in England are not allowing it to happen. I sincerely wouldn't like to see any, especially doctors and nurses in hospital. You don't see any of them wearing bloody stuff like that. So it doesn't. There are certain jobs, horses for courses.
Okay, stay there for a second. And why would you not like to see a Garda with visible tattoos?
Well, hi, Adrian.
How are you?
On this wet and windy night. No, I didn't actually mean that. I mean, anybody is entitled to have a tattoo.
Well, obviously you're entitled to, yeah.
Yes, a guard or a judge. I mean, who's to know a judge doesn't have one, because we only see his face anyway and his hands. So anyway, like, I think policemen, if they're allowed, visibly on their face, no. But like, on their arm where it can't be seen, they're like everybody, they're human like everybody else. And that girl there, that said she had them all over it. Well, she's in her own business, so she can do what
she likes, yeah.
Yeah. And also,
but can you understand why people like Ryan are saying that it just doesn't give off the image that certain companies or certain professions require?
Well, when I was young, growing up, you see men with tattoos, we would think, oh God, these are tough men.
Or sailors. Well, back in the day, a lot of sailors would have had tattoos, but that would have been, a
lot of women went for them then, didn't they, with the tattoos, so...
But mind you, you'd have never, back in the day, seen a woman wearing a tattoo. Not in a month of Sundays, would you?
Well, I can't remember that far.
Well, no, I couldn't tell you anyone my granny's age who ever had a tattoo.
Either. But what I'm saying is, Adrian, I think everybody should be entitled to do what they want.
Well, of course they're entitled to do what they want. It's whether or not it's given off the right impression. Let me just bring in one last call. John, you're on FM104. You wanted to talk to Ryan, did you?
I did, Adrian.
Off you go.
To be honest with you, he was saying that now if he was to go into a butcher shop and basically buys me, he wouldn't feel comfortable buying meat off someone that had a tattoo. It was only there about 3 weeks ago. We'd had someone actually in looking for pork skins to actually start off his own business in doing tattoos on pork skins, and actually interested customers into it.
What, he wanted to practice on pork skins?
He wanted to practice on the pork skins itself, because he was starting off his own business, and actually intrigued customers into it. They were looking at and they were talking away to him. Right, now, so I'm looking at, he's saying here, oh, well, if I was going to a butcher shop, right, there you go, these are customers that had travelled, right? I 2 or 3 customers last week travelling in from Raheny when this man was here, and we were like, Chase actually interested. Took his number and actually was interested in getting tattoos. It's all around. Everyone has tattoos nowadays. Right?
No, I don't agree with you. Not everyone. In fact, if I walking around our office here today, knowing we were going to be talking about it, I think I saw 2 people in our whole company today with them.
Adrian.
So you can't say everyone has them.
Adrian, Ryan.
Not everyone has them, but the more population of nowadays have them.
Sorry, Ryan, go on.
Sorry, I just want to say something to John. You're talking in the very minute situation there where people would want to go in. Many times would that happen, like somebody going into a butcher shop and saying, or me meeting somebody in a pub, sitting over beside a load of fellas with tattoos. I would feel grossly uncomfortable in that room. I'd say.
Can I ask you, Ryan, why is that?
Why is it? Because it's an image, and it's always been an image with fellas who have been imprisoned down through the years, and it's seen in all prisons, be it England, Ireland, Scotland, France, you name it, even especially in America. And the vast majority of people in prisons wear tattoos because it's a sort of a thing that they're in this particular group. They want to be aggressive towards each other, and therefore that's why a lot of people, the likes of them people, are not employed. It's a very small minority, like 5 or 10% around the whole home country that would be employed and that certainly wouldn't be involved in a government job, that's for sure, or a civil servant. And anyone in their right mind wouldn't employ these people because they are aggressive looking, and if you had an argument with them in the job, they'd probably take the head off you.
Right, but that's why people do back checks on people before they start work, right? First of all. Second of all, I've never been in trouble with the law in my life, right? I have 2 children and I've been in this work since 7 years, right? I've never ever been in trouble with the law, and I've a tattoo, so automatically you're automatically, what? Like, you're naming me as a scumbag because I have a tattoo. Is that it?
No, John, I never said that you were a scumbag.
I understand you didn't, but because I have a tattoo, I'm a scumbag.
If you heard me, I don't know whether you're the same guy that was dealing that you're working in the butchers.
No, it's not the same fella. No.
No, it's okay. Well, I'm saying this to all the butchers that's out there, who the guys are listening out there. I'm not pasting everyone with the one brush. I'm saying the vast majority of guys, I'm sure in the butchers, are very nice, down to earth guys, but there are only certain types of areas of work and jobs like butchers and places like that, like football, and the people that deal in pubs. You'll find loads of fellas in pubs behind bars and all that. They all wear them because it's allowed, because you're dealing with the public, and there's a rough element that sometimes comes into certain pubs, and they have to just put up.
Okay, and no matter what way you look at tattoos, Ryan, you still see them, regardless of. I mean, somebody said a text a second ago, the majority of young people now have tattoos. It's just normal culture because of celebrities, pop stars and so on. That's what kids look up to now. But you still think it portrays a negative image?
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, and I say this...
I take it you would never get one yourself?
Absolutely never. Even if I was given
Can I just say something?
Yeah, go on.
Given one for nothing, I wouldn't take them.
Ryan, have you got kids?
Sorry?
Have you children?
No, and if I did have, I wouldn't allow them to have them either.
Ryan,
okay.
Can I just say something? I was in hospital about 2 months ago with my son, and the actual assistant nurse that actually seen to us had a tattoo on the back of his wrist, and he had another one just up on top of his neck. That was a nurse in the hospital.
Well, yeah, I have to admit that there are certain nurses who are, and I know the type of nurse you're talking about, that brings fellas around from one ward to another. And I understand.
It wasn't part of it. This was a nurse. This was
he must have got in. He must have got in the back door somehow. There is back doors in certain jobs with friends and family to get certain people in because they have the education, and they may have got this tattoo maybe when they were, say, 15, 18 or whatever. Now they're 25 and they got the job. You know, that type of thing. That can happen. They can slip indoors that way, and they're in the system, and that's it, and they can't do anything about it now. But I'm saying is, you see that same guy, if he was to add another tattoo on another part of his body, and then another one, then you'd find that it'd be a different kettle of fish.
Okay, so you can understand why the Met Police in London are banning recruiting people with visible tattoos.
Oh yeah, 110%. I agree with it fully and totally, because I still say it's a major image in the sense that anybody with tattoos, I personally myself, I know a lot of guys with tattoos, but I feel there's certain ones that if I bump into and I don't know them in a pub, I go down the other end of the pub because I know there's going to be trouble in that corner at some stage of the night.
All right, thanks for your call, Ryan. Thank you all of you for your calls. A couple of texts before I wrap this up. An uncle of mine back in the 1940s warned my brothers never to get tattoos. He had lost several jobs because of his many years ago. Point being, things haven't changed. The only difference between people with tattoos and people without tattoos is that people with them don't care if you don't have any. Yeah, okay. You're saying about people working in well-known companies that try to keep a good image of themselves. Really, it's celebrities that keep this trend going for young people. And if any famous person walked into a shop or an airline looking for a job, they would get it, even if they had tattoos on their face. So why can't us average people express themselves the same? And finally, Adrian, the UK police force are condemning tattoos and the image they bring, yet at least 90% of the real forces who are out in Afghanistan fighting for their country and losing their lives every day are heroes in their country and probably have tattoos. All right, thanks very much indeed for all of your calls, comments, texts and opinions. This is Adrian with FM104's Phone Show.